Salve a tutti, sono Almarocco e benvenuti in un nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui per fare un'intervista a PG, famoso per essere cantante, bassista, chitarrista e membro fondatore dei GROZA. Prima di iniziare lo ringrazio per la sua disponibilità, per aver accettato di essere qui oggi. Vi lascio l'intervista e vi auguro buona visione.
I started writing for GROZA back in 2016, so 9 years ago now. I was still in another band back then, but that band started to fall apart because people were moving to study in other cities, and so it was just difficult to hold it all together. And I still wanted to play music, so I started writing just riffs from my own, and also stuff that didn't fit the style of the old band very much. So I just gathered riffs with no intention of ever releasing it or anything, just for my personal enjoyment. And later on I gathered a couple of songs, and in 2018, beginning of 2018, I made the decision to make these riff ideas something more and make an album out of it with a full band name and also a live band. So I started collecting other members. I started auditioning other people, and the drummer of our first record, he's a drummer that was in the band that was before GROZA, so I had a starting point there. And the other two guys I met through just the local scene. I've known them. I was in a band with the bass player also before, and the guitarist we've known from the local scene, so that came together pretty quick and natural. And then we played our first show, I think, in September of 2018, and that's where it started from. And the influence that made me write this type of music, and especially black metal, is totally Mgwa's Exercises in Futility. It's still my favorite album of all time, and it's done things to me that no other record has. Like, I feel so understood by that record. It's incredible. So I heard that, and I saw Mgwa play Munich, where I come from, at Dark Eastern Metal Meeting 2016, and that show was also incredible, like mind-opening. It was like it opened up a total new world of what you could do in the genre. So I was so struck by that show and so affected that basically I went home and started writing in the same night. I felt so inspired by it and wanted to do something just like that. So obviously the first record is very much a worship record in my book. Like, it's very similar to Mgwa and really like worships their style. GROZA, the name, is also a reference to their first album that they did. And so it started from basically worshipping Mgwa, and then later on as we wrote more and more, we developed our own style, kind of. But that's where it all came from in the beginning. So Unified in Void, our first record, came out in September of 2018, and as I said, it came from all these little riff ideas that I had gathered over the 2 years prior to that. And I didn't really have any ambition to release it or to get something out of this band or to push it or whatever. I just, I enjoyed writing what I did, and I showed it to my friends and my buddies that were also in the music scene. And they encouraged me to make a record out of it. And so I did. I wrote lyrics for it, and we recorded it all by ourselves in the rehearsal place. Basically, I did all the drum recording with the drummer. We did the recording by ourselves and recorded guitars, vocals, all there. And I did the mixing and mastering. And then we just figured to release it through Black Metal Promotion. It's a big YouTube channel that posts like underground black metal records, basically, and we managed to get our album uploaded there. And that's where Sven from AOP Records saw it and got in touch right after, and said that he really liked the record and wanted to talk on the phone. So we had a conversation on the phone and agreed to work together and release Unified in Void also as a physical album, with vinyl and CDs. And it was a big deal for us. We've never had music of our own on vinyl, and it's still something very special, So that's where the journey really took off. Then with AOP Records, we've gotten so much support from them over the years, and we wouldn't be where we are right now if it weren't for them, for sure. So yeah. So about The Redemptive End, our second album, we just, after Unified was released, we just played a lot of shows and were pretty active as a band, went on our first tour, and it just came natural to continue writing with these guys, because it was just a lot of fun, playing with them, and it just felt good. So it was pretty natural to keep on writing new material. And then we wrote stuff for The Redemptive End. That was also the first time that the other guys had input in the songwriting. The first record was basically just me, and then the guys started contributing also. That's why you can hear like a shift in the style of the band towards the second album, The Redemptive End. And yeah, we recorded it during the pandemic, like in 2020. We recorded most of the record again, all on our own in the rehearsal space, and that was pretty good experience for us actually, because the pandemic sucked for everybody and it was a disaster and all that, but for us, being creative in that time was really good because there was no distraction whatsoever, like no shows that could have been played or no bars you can go to to get distracted and all that. So we had the opportunity to work very focused on that, and finished the recording, the mixing, did it all by ourselves, and then released it in 2021, basically, all again through AOP Records, and also made our first music videos with it. And it brought a lot of new people to the band. A lot of new fans recognized us because of The Redemptive End, and it's still a very important record in our history. Like songs like the title track, The Redemptive End, we never kick out of the set. We always play them. So So Nadir, our most recent album, again, natural continuation of what we did with The Redemptive End, but this time the recording and writing situation was a bit different because we unfortunately had to go through some really tough things within the band. Our founding bass player, he fell sick, unfortunately, in the beginning of 2023 after we were on tour through Europe with Harakiri for the Sky. He played that tour and then he went very sick, and unfortunately half a year later he passed away. So that of course had major impact on the whole writing and the themes of the album, as you can imagine. Like something like that really captures your mind. Sometimes, some days it's all you can think about, and so naturally it comes out through the music, because with GROZA, music has always been like opportunity to get things off of my mind that are hurting or that have a sense of destruction, so GROZA has always been a way to get that out. And with all of that shit happening and seeing one of your best friends deteriorate, basically, it was very, very rough, and you can hear it on the record. It's a very sad record and full of grief and sorrow, and the lyrics also, some of it was written even with him when he was still healthy, so some parts of the record come before that, and but the majority of the record was written and finished, especially the lyrics, after he passed. So that was the main factor that contributed to the record being the way that it is now. But it also was through music you always have a sense of healing, also like a sort of catharsis, if you will. Like when you write a song like Daffodils, for example, which is very much about the passing of Mike, our bass player, then it takes some of that and gives it a place to live in that is not your mind. I can always access the feelings that I had writing it when we play the song live or when I hear it on the record, but I've written it down on paper, so it's out of my system in that sense. So that's a very good thing about the record, that it gave the opportunity to let go of certain things, and we've been touring like crazy with this album. We've done another European tour with Elenda in the winter of 2024, and continued to play shows all over with this record. The band grew also quite a bit from this album, and couldn't be happy with the reactions we have gotten through that album. We also, a special thing about this is this is the first time we worked with guests on any of the songs. So the song Daffodils that I mentioned, we had MS and JJ from Harakiri for the Sky, so the singer and the guitarist and the main songwriter. We had them contribute on this song because it also, again, it's a personal thing. We grew together so much on this tour that we did with them, and they were also good friends of Mike's. And when he passed, it felt like a good way to pay tribute to him, like having his friends on the record. And he always, like, one of the things with Nadia is also, with this record, we tried to fulfill as many ideas that he had during his lifetime. And the cover also is a artwork that his sister did. He always wanted to work with her, but we never got to it. And then when he passed, we decided to get that idea to reality finally, and that's like also a theme that the record has. So about lyrics, I basically answered it before, but as I said, GROZA, to me, the most important aspect of the band is that I have like an outlet to get shit out of my mind that would usually become hurtful towards me and towards the people I'm around. You know, I'm not the kind of person that really talks about stuff like that a lot with people, so I tend to keep it within. But GROZA and music in general is like a way that I feel comfortable showing what's inside and showing vulnerability and that I'm hurting, basically, you know. So I wouldn't talk about it, but I can write music about it, and that's a very helpful thing to me over the years, that I have this, I can always go to this spot that's safe and be safe with my emotions and get them out in a way that I feel totally comfortable with. So yeah, that's also where most of the lyrics come from. In the early records, like basically mainly on Unified and Void, and also some of it on the Redemptive End, I also contributed or collaborated with an old friend of mine. He used to sing in the band that I was before it, and he also contributed vocals, and so that was more of a collaboration back then. But now I write most of the stuff all by myself. So, and inspiration, as I said, can come from anything. It could be a movie that you see, or a book that you read, or shit that you see happening in the subway, or whatever, you know. Anything could spark an idea for a lyric. So I always have like when I'm on tour, I always have a little book with me where I could just quickly sketch ideas down, or just lines or images that I have in mind, or I put them in my phone and collect ideas. And then when it's time to finish a whole piece of lyric, like a whole song, I always wait for the song to be written first, because the song gives the direction that the lyric needs to go in. And then I just go through all of my ideas and organize them and see what fits together with what, and what could make a whole concept or story happen. And then I put them together and connect them. And that's basically how I write lyrics. It's also always the last thing I do. Last but not least, projects for 2025. We've been touring all through the year, playing festivals now in the summer and all that. And one thing we released this year was our first ever live record. It's called Live at Ragnarök. We recorded it at Ragnarök Festival in Germany, which was one of our biggest shows to date. It was sold out. It was like 6,000 people, I think. And yeah, we had a special production and made a whole like live concert movie out of it. Like we filmed the whole set, and Tim, our drummer, he edited the video, and it's out on AOP Records YouTube channel if anybody's interested. And now we've also released it on vinyl, because I'm such a fan of live albums. I've always loved them, and I wanted to have one ourselves, and this show really was a good opportunity to make that vision happen. So that's a thing that we released right now. And yeah, later in the year we have a lot of touring coming up. Starting in September, mid of September, we go on our first North American tour. We are supporting Panzerfaust, which is going to be fucking awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing them every night and to finally be able to tour the US. So we'll be gone for 4 or 5 weeks from September till October, go all around the country, and then we come home for a couple of weeks. Then we leave in November. We leave for South America. Also the first time we play Brazil and Mexico and some other countries. It's a roughly 2-week tour. We go there with Outlaw, which are also on AOP Records, great guys, and also looking forward to touring with them. And then last but not least, we go on a European tour in the end of November through December. It's like a 3.5-week tour all around Europe, or basically like more of the western side of Europe. We go to Spain and Portugal for the first time, and that, and in between we also have shows in Scandinavia for the first time before we go on the European tour. So we go to Sweden and Finland for the first time ever. So it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a lot of shows, and hopefully people show up and we can have great shows all over the world with them. So really looking forward to bring Nadia to as many people as possible through all these touring. And then after we come home, we'll probably take a couple of weeks off, because it's going to be exhausting also. But after that, I'm planning to get back into the headspace of songwriting, you know. So I never can do both at the same time. Like when we have a lot of shows, I'm like in playing live mode, and then when it's a little bit more calm and we have more time at home, I switch into this songwriting mode where I get really into it and all that. But that's what I have in mind for 2026, to play less shows and continue writing. We already have a lot of material, but it's just a matter of organizing it and seeing what fits together, and maybe writing something new too, I don't know. But the main goal for next year is to write and finish the next record after Nadia, basically. So we'll see how that goes. So closing words, thank you very much again for having me on this interview, and cheers.